back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Pinat. All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Denoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Borman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Alright, here we are. Welcome everyone and a very, very good evening. Welcome to PSGL PCF4, where tonight's time for round 9. We're here in Saudi Arabia at the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. I'll be your host for tonight. My name is Sky, and here, as per usual, with Max.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream. Once again, a pleasure to be back in the comms box alongside you, Myth. Should be an exciting race today around Saudi Arabia, as you've already mentioned, at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And yeah, championship's looking spicy. 8 drivers still within real championship winning contention. And how are you, Myth, on this Thursday evening?
I'm doing pretty good. It's, yeah, of course, the last race before the holiday break, the New Year break. And then we have a race in Japan before we have another break. And I think the most surprising is, let's just quickly look at the current standings, because they are absolutely mind-blowing. I have never seen a championship fight this close with this many people. Because if we look at the standings here, there's 8 people within the points of a race. That's 15 points. Exafox now leads it again after a second place last week out in Zandvoort. Campbell Adams has now been booted back to second. He's only 1 point shy of Exafox. Dimas is 5 away. Bogdan Moldovan and Isaac lead 9 away, following Isaac's lead's win. Lighty didn't score, so he's 12 away. And Gottschalk, he lost 1 position after a post-race penalty, cost him 2 points, so he's now 13 points away. And then finally, we still have Kai, who finished in 9 due to that contact with Gottschalk that sent him spinning. He is 15 points away, and with 16 points to gain every race, I think, Max, at this point, it's safe to say that one of these 8 drivers is going to take the title. But the big question is, who will that be? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very interesting and very close season, to be exact. As you said, 15 points separating that top 8, and it is 18 on offer with the pole position and the fastest lap point. So it can dramatically swap race from race. Of course, 4 rounds to go. And if you have one good result, say if Exafox or Campbell Adams, the 2 championship leaders, finish in the low end of the points and you go on to win the Grand Prix, you can shoot yourself back to the top of the standings. So it's going to be ever changing. It is going to be all about who is most consistent from here on out, who can constantly be at the top of the field. That is what's going to decide this championship. Of course, with Isaac Lee and Exafox, the 2 drivers that came first and second last time out in the Netherlands, they'll be looking to replicate that form here this evening. But also, we've got to remember, a big part of that race was all that chaos on lap 11, where most of the grid got involved in an incident which allowed Exafox and Isaac Lee to get up through the field. They weren't the strongest up until that point. So even though they got those results, Smith, the momentum, yes, it's in their hands now, but they weren't the quickest on track. They got the luck they needed, but they need that to carry on for the rest of the season, or this could go into a massive downward trajectory.
Yeah, we were expecting a lot from Lighty, who did get the pole position, but only finished in 14th. I believe he retired later on in the race due to some contact that he was involved in earlier on. So he could have scored very well. Unfortunately, didn't do so. But if we just saw the standings. We see that every driver has had their 1, 2, or 3 off days that have caused them not to get the maximum points, and that is why it also is so close. And tonight, where we have a track once more where the threat of a safety car or a virtual safety car is quite high, means that we're going to have another interesting race. But it's also one of those races, especially for the ones more downwards, so let's say 5 to 8, they need to perform tonight, because if they perform lackluster, the top 3 gets a race win, then you're pretty much out for the championship fight. So you will have to be consistent from now on. We'll have to get closer to the likes of Exafox and Campbell Adams, and perhaps then take it in Bahrain, because I think by the time we get to Bahrain, 3 or 4 drivers easily will still be within championship contention.
Yeah, they certainly will. This is where the pressure does, as you say, mount on those drivers from, I would say, about 4th, because Bogdan Moldovan and Isaac Lee are tied on points. So from Moldovan down to Kai, the pressure is on their shoulders for at least this round. They need to make sure they get a good result. They're able to be at the front of the field, and they're able to score the points that they need, because it is going to be so crucial at this time of the season to just slice, even if it's a couple points away from the drivers at the top of the standings, to just give them a bit of more hope, a bit of a better chance heading into the last 3 rounds. Who will also end this year off on a high, of course. After this year, we still got 3 races in January, but we shall see who will come out the victor in the last race of the year. And for the likes of Exafox, he needs to really change his qualifying form. Of course, Campbell Adams started 2nd last time out as well, so he's on the good form when it comes to the qualifying, but it just seems at the minute, Exafox and Campbell Adams, they're having their weaknesses, and it really is showing. I mean, of course, Exafox had that double DNF in Monaco and Silverstone, and he was lucky to really get a good result from the Netherlands as well. So he's in a real tough spot at the minute, is the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, it could have been much, much worse for him, and you can maybe hear a little bit of background sound already from the cars that are now leaving pit lane. I believe is the Williams of Campbell Adams, who is first out on track. Very long circuit where we are tonight. I believe the 2nd longest on the calendar with 6.175 kilometers or 3.8 miles. But it is the circuit with the highest average speed. Those can go up to 245 kilometers an hour or 151 miles per hour. So we're going to see some very, very fast quali runs over the course of 27 turns. Also a huge, huge number. I believe that is the highest number of any track that we go to. And if we have to expect any lap times that we saw in F3 just about an hour ago, their pole time was a 1:26.4. I believe will be a couple tenths away, so I think we'll be going for 26.6 or 7 as the pole lap time tonight.
Yeah, that really is going to be the aim for most of these drivers. So Campbell Adams is getting ready to start his first flying lap of qualifying. Only 15 drivers at the moment. I do think we have all of the championship contenders in the lobby. So what can the man 1 point away from your championship leader, Exafox 2, sitting 2nd in the standings? Campbell Adams is going to set the benchmark for this evening's running. So heading down into turn 1, you're going to brake just at the 100-meter board, get the car down to 3rd gear, clip that first apex curve nicely, ride the 2nd curve, then bring that car all the way to the left-hand side as you head through turn 3. Then it's a short burst down into turn 4, down to 5th gear. You then get back on the power nicely. A little bit of understeer, wouldn't hit the apex as quite well as he liked, as you now go through 6, 7, 8, then into 9, which then leads you into 10 and 11. Lovely amount of curves being taken there. That was a really good run through that first sector of 31.7 from Campbell Adams as he heads into the curve banking of turn 12. There's a stop V-carb in the middle of the rows. Don't know why that was there for the Williams man. Luckily, didn't distract him too much as he now heads into 14, which then leads him through 15. Back on the power, make sure you don't drop the rear out of there and put it into the outside wall. Now, as you head through the likes of 17, 18, 19 and 20 with the DRS open, as you then get on the brakes for 21 and 22, but he's tapped the wall there as Campbell Adams. He's gone wide. He just was a little bit too eager with the turning there. And unfortunately, that lap is invalid. It was also good at the first part of the lap. It was plain sailing, but a little bit of eagerness. Just a lack of concentration. And Campbell Adams' lap was ruined. Basner has also invalidated his lap, so he's not going to set a representative lap time either. Let's look at Lanzoni as he's heading through turn 27. Now he's not invalidated, so the other Williams man will be setting the benchmark for this session. Up to the line goes Giovanni Lanzoni at a 26.914, and Isaac Lee falls 2 tenths short.
That's actually a very fast first run. Not what I was expecting to already break into the 26s on run 1, but looks like the drivers are able to do so and do have that proper pace. Theo Bones has also invalidated. We have a yellow in sector 1, but that's Bogdan Moldovan, who has a lot of FPS issues.
No, Lanzoni's crashed.
Lanzoni's out?
He's crashed on his in-lap.
He's crashed in his in-lap at the end of turn 4, I believe. That's very uncommon. I mean, for Bogdan Moldovan, his car is stuck. He's having FPS glitches. Lolo Vera is making his way up to the line. He's now in 9th with a 27.3. Most of the drivers actually going for 27s. Only 2 cars breaking into 26s. But for Lanzoni, there won't be any more improvements after this. But also, I would not be surprised if he fell victim to an FPS glitch, similar to what Bogdan Moldovan is suffering from. But a lot of invalidations, 5 drivers not being able to set lap time for those invalidations, and one, of course, the issue we just mentioned. And now everyone will be heading back into pit lane with Beisner and Campbell Adams already starting to exit that. So let's have a look with Beisner first. But yeah, a long way to go, 13 minutes still left on the clock, but incidents like this I think are also bound to happen in the race. I think we're going to have at least 1, maybe 2 safety cars, and I think strategy-wise the drivers really need to think about what they're going to do.
Yeah, they certainly do. There's no point starting on the harder compound and then end up getting a safety car, which then allows the drivers on the softer compound to swap over and not do a pit stop for the rest of the Grand Prix. So it's going to be a real gamble for what strategy you go on to. Do you hope for the early safety car, or do you just hope everything goes clean and you can go long? That is going to be the real big factor of this Grand Prix, is the safety cars or virtual safety cars that we will get. So as more drivers now head out to start their outlaps, Lucas Basner, Exafox and Campbell Adams. First driver that will be setting a lap of the 3 will be Lucas Basner, heading through the final corner now. As you can see, Bogdan Moldovan still having those issues on the exit of turn 12. But Myth, why don't you take us on board with a lap here of the Mercedes driver as he heads down into turn 1.
Alright, so we are on board now with Beisner, hard braking into turn 1 and 2. To take a lot of curb on entry, and this looks very smooth, a little bit too smooth though, as he immediately invalidates at the start of lap 2. But the first corner is something that will be important and very key to proper lap times, because turn 1 and 2, turn 4, right amount of aggression, the right amount of just nailing the corner can grant you a 10th or a couple of 10ths very early on in the sector. We see that Beisner would have been about a 10th off on what we saw, I believe it was Campbell Adams was doing earlier on. Campbell Adams is also on a lap. He indeed does a 31.7 now this time round, so he's even quicker than Lucas Beisner just was, despite not making a mistake. So he's now making his way through this second sector now. Very fast right-hander, needs to clip the apex, and he does so much better than last time around. Comes very close to the wall to an exit, just shows he takes a maximum amount of speed through. Now, approaching the start of the third sector. This is where he made the mistake last time round. If he keeps it clean, this could be a potential pole lap time. Now goes a little bit too wide, almost losing the car, losing a 10th and a half there, and now making his way down to the final corner. Turn 27 that will be. And he will need to make sure that he keeps it tight here. Brakes early enough. Keeps it tight indeed. Good exit. Good run towards start-finish straight. Now keep it close to the pit wall. And Campbell Adams on his way to provisional pole. It is not enough, at least for now. But it's another driver into the 26.9s.
Yeah, that's our third man into the 26.9s. Campbell Adams probably has lost all that time through that turn 22, turn 23 chicane where he just went a little bit wide from the apex, but at least this time didn't invalidate and got the lap time on the board. So next driver on a lap will be Alessandro Finn in his Scarlet Red Scuderia Ferrari, heading through turns 1 and 2. They're so crucial to getting your lap right. They really are the momentum builders of the lap. If you're able to get a good run through turns 1 and 2, you should be set for the rest of this lap for Finn. A little bit wide through turn 4 as he heads into 5, as we now heads into 9, which then leads him into 10 and 11. A lot of rear sliding from this Scarlet Red car as he heads through that first sector, 31.9, so 2 tenths down on what we saw Campbell Adams do on his opening lap of the session. So for Alessandro Finn, it looked a bit more planted through turn 12 as we head through now 13, 14 and into 15 and 16. Another big slide. Not enough rear downforce, you would think. Sets on this Ferrari at the moment is really kicking its back end out and not seeming to be the most stable car in the world and not looking very happy under the load that Alessandro Finn is having to give it through some of these corners as he heads out of turn 23 into 24. Be DRS open, so he heads through 25 and 26 on this curved DRS straight. So what would it be for Finn? Would it be enough of an improvement to at least getting in front of Lolo Vieira in the Aston Martin? As he heads around the final corner now, it will be DRS open as we head to the start-finish line. Keep it as tight to that left-hand side as possible. Alessandro Finn across the line. He does find the time he needs. He goes up into 9th place, displacing Lamrock and Vieira. Dimas to the top of the times with 26.7. That's a really strong lap time from the Red Bull. Kai has gone purple in the middle sector apparently, so keep an eye on his time. Lighty up to second place. Kai's up by 3 tenths. That could be good enough for pole position. Gottschalk has invalidated, so all eyes now to Kai at this midpoint of the session. This will be a brilliant statement to throw down from the man who finished 9th last time out in the Netherlands and on the cusp of elimination from the championship. He improves by 4.5 tenths to go to a 26.534 as this track keeps improving. Kai seems to get quicker and a brilliant lap time there from the McLaren. And this is a crucial evening from him. The driver on the most cusp, at the most risk of elimination from this championship fight, puts it on provisional pole. But with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left in this session, there are still many more twists in the tail. But Kai with a really great lap to put him on provisional pole.
Yeah, and that lap also only half a tenth away from the pole in F3, and we still have about half of the clock left to go, so Kai will be able to go for another run, and if he can improve, he should be on, well, maybe even beating that pole lap time. Shows how much pace these boys do have. We're currently going through all the drivers. I think a few are, at least, Beisner might be on a lap now. Same can be said about Xfox, who's just behind him. But let's see how quickly Beisner goes through that first second before we quickly flick over to Xfox. Beisner at 31.8, Xfox at 31.6. That is a tenth, well, about a half a tenth quicker than we saw Campbell Adams do. And mind you, Campbell Adams also made a mistake at the end of Sector 2. If he can do a little bit better in this could be a 26.6 or 7 if he completes his run. So let's go on board with Xfox. How close is he going to be? The right left-hander did not look as fast as it could have been, and he has still a lot of battery available to use later on down the line with a 59.9. That is a good one. He keeps it clean to the left right-hander too, and now making his way around the final few corners before the hard braking zone of turn 27. But Xfox is on for a really good run, and this is a couple of tenths quicker than Campbell Adams was. Nail your final corner. He does so nicely. Clips the apex perfectly. Great exit for Xfox. Now keep it on track. He does, and across the line he goes. It's only good enough for P3, but does at least get ahead of his main championship competitor in the name of Campbell Adams. But the other championship competitors right around him, Kai in front of him, Dimas in front of him, Lighty just behind him, and then there's some gaps to some other drivers. And for, well, Bogdan Moldovan, I don't think he'll be able to set a time due to the issue he has. And for Isaac Lead, he still has to improve quite a bit because he's currently not in your top 10.
No, he is not indeed, but this is a much more improved qualifying session from Exafox from what we've seen in the past. So Campbell Adams through the first sector down by 0.08 of a second. So as he heads through turn 12, a little kick of the rear end there for the Williams driver as he now heads through 13, and this will lead him into 14, which is a quick flick, into 15 and 16. So a nice exit out of there for the Williams man. Is he up in this middle sector? It's just keep it as close to these inside walls as you can and as minimal steering as possible to gain the most time, but he's still down by about a 10.5, and that was a bit skew-if through the turn 22-23 chicane there from Campbell Adams. Had to take a few stabs at it, didn't look too confident, but didn't go as wide, so he surely found some time with the momentum held down into turn 27, but it actually seems like he has aborted this run. So for Campbell Adams, obviously not finding the time he needs, and unfortunately stays in 7th place. And with only one more attempt at it, the pressure is certainly going to be on his shoulders. Isaac Leet as well, not happy with his lap as he comes into the pit lane. So big trouble for two of our championship contenders.
Yeah, we just saw Isaac Lead was up about a 10.5, was really good in the first sector with the 31.6, but he also realized if I finish my lap now, I won't be able to do another one in. Probably safer to head into the pits, go for another run, maybe go a little bit quicker so I can gain some more places, because if he had finished that run, I think that would put him right around the time of Campbell Adams, maybe 7th or 8th place. But you're definitely going to have some drivers beating your time, and you'll be back to the place where you are at now. So might as well go diving into the pits, put on another fresh set of tires, and then try and risk it that way. Because we can already see Alessandro Finn is up by 2/10 in that first sector. Great run so far, 31.7. Now needs to make sure he nails it. Looks a lot cleaner through the right left-hander. Now it's going to make its way towards the end of the second sector. We're aiming for sub 1 minute times. And Alessandro Finn is just able to do so, and he's 4/10 up on his own personal best, and he's now going for a time close to Lucas Beisner. If he can improve a little bit in the final sector, might even beat that fourth place currently held by Lighty. It won't be enough for a pole position, but it will be good enough to come a lot closer to that top 5. Alessandro Finn also dives it into pit lane. So he thinks there's more in the tank as well, because even with that lap finishing in pit lane would have been quicker. So that says quite a lot, doesn't it, Max?
Yeah, it certainly does. That's a very risky play there from Alessandro Finn, because now if he goes a little bit wide through that first sector, but validation could be his way, and he'll be absolutely kicking himself in the cockpit of that Ferrari. It seemed a lot more planted though through some of those corners than it did on the previous attempt, but we now have drivers coming out for their final runs of the session. It will be the first driver round will be I think it might be actually it is going to be Isaac Lee. Lolo Vieira just completed his lap, so he's heading into the pit lane now, and that's his session over. So 8th place is all Lolo Vieira can do. So he certainly is on the risk of dropping out of this top 10. So with all eyes turn to Isaac Lee, the man who will start these final runs of qualifying. The McLaren driver looking for a huge improvement on his lap time. Of course, one last time out in the Netherlands. We'll see if he's able to replicate at least that feat here this evening. So the best way to do it, start from pole position. So as we head down into turn 1, now with the DRS open for the McLaren driver, crossing that start-finish line. The final runs begin now. So heading into turn 1, down to 3rd gear, you then ride that second curb nice and gently. Make sure you don't light the rear tyres up on exit. So you head through turn 3 and into turn 4. You want to brake just at that black box and then get through turns 4 and 5. Very planted through there. That was a very, very nice turns 4 and 5 from Isaac Lee. The car looking very planted. It's like it's on rails through this first sector. What's it going to be for Isaac Lee in the first sector split, though? It's a 31.6, up by a 10th on his previous lap time. So as he heads through turn 12, a little bit of rear movement, but nothing he can't handle in that McLaren as he heads through 13 and then into 14, down to 5th gear. Flick it in, a few stabs at the steering, but able to get the car rotated nicely. And then on the exit, able to keep that well away from the wall and get a nice tight run to then give him the best momentum down into 22 and 23. What's it going to be in the middle sector split? Still up by just over under a tenth and a half. This will only put him, I would say, just within the top 10 if he's able to keep up this trend of improvement. So DRS open as we're heading into the final braking zone, a very tricky braking zone for turn 27. It invites you to brake as late as you dare, hits that apex well, does Isaac Lee, runs the car all the way to the outside wall. What's this going to be for the McLaren man? DRS open as he heads to the line. Can he get into that top 10? Yes, he can. He goes to the front row of the grid. Brilliant from both McLarens. Kai is improving on his lap time. Look at Alexander Dimas. He's invalidated and he was up by half a tenth. That would have put him onto the front row. Kai heading through turn 22 now. He's lost a bit of time in that middle sector, up by 5 thousandths. Exafox just in front of him has invalidated, so that's all your championship leader can do. He starts from 4th. Campbell Adams to the top of the times. Brilliant from the Williams man. 2nd in the standings, exactly what he needed after a poor first attempt. All eyes to Kai now. He threw down that gauntlet early on in the session. Campbell Adams has picked it up. Can Kai snatch it back? No, he cannot. Kai starts from 2nd. Basner not able to improve. Here comes Gottschalk. He goes to 10th. Lanrock now up to the line. Can he break into that top 10? Yes, he can. He goes up into 7th place. But it's Campbell Adams who picks up that gauntlet that Kai threw down. He's your pole man here in Saudi Arabia.
Finn's up by half a second at the moment. He might still be able to get very close to the guys up on front. I don't think it's enough for pole, but that's a 26-7 P5 indeed. That's a great final run by Alessandro Finn.
I'm not going to lie, I completely missed Finn in all the excitement of Campbell Adams' lap. But it's the man who has not got to win this season. He picks up that gauntlet that Kai threw down. And what a way to take it to your championship rivals by getting pole position. Your qualifying order is as follows. Campbell Adams on pole, Kai in 2nd, Isaac Lee 3rd, Dimas 4th, Alessandro Finn with a stonking lap at the end to go up to 5th, Exafox 6th, Lighty in 7th, Langrock 8th, 9th, Basner. Lanzoni rounds out your top 10 after that, and then crashing in 10th. Pinto 11th, 12th, Gottschalk, Lolo Vieira in 13th, and 2 drivers unfortunately not able to set a lap time, Tail Bournes, and of course Bogdan Moldovan, due to that FPS issue, not able to set a lap either. Myth. Those 13 cars only separated by 0.4 of a second in that qualifying session.
Yeah, and it's even more surprising given the fact that the first two already had a 2/10 gap towards P3. So that shows how closely packed most of the grid is. But this is great news for Campbell Adams. He needed a little bit of a break. He needed to show like, hey, I want to retake that championship lead that was so cruelly taken away from him in the last race. It was only 1 point that still separates them, but with a pole position from him and the man just ahead of him in the standings, Exafox in P6, could do a really good deal by getting more points and perhaps his first race win of the season. We will now, of course, have a lobby restart before we have our 25 lap race, so the drivers will now be retiring, and in about 5 to 10 minutes we'll be starting for now. So we are quickly going to move over to a mid-roll ad break, and we'll see you again in a minute. And here we are again. Welcome back. We just had our qualifying session here in Jeddah, round 9 for PSGL PCF4, with a pole position for man 2nd in the standings, Campbell Adams. And that point, Max, gives him enough to put himself equal with Exafox. Both 58 points now before the start of the race.
Yeah, we have level pegging heading under the lights. The duel in the desert will begin of this 25 lap race. And for Campbell Adams, that was just what a way to just cement yourself as a driver that's still hungry for this championship. Yes, it's only a point separating them into that qualifying session, but that was so needed after a poor last two results. Of course, he qualified second in the Netherlands, but he was only able to bring it up to 7th place after that the action that kicked off at the start of the Grand Prix. And in Silverstone, he finished 10th as well. So he's not had the best form as of late. Only really backed up by a 2nd place in Monaco, and then it was a 9th place earlier in the season at Qatar. So yeah, recently not been on the best run, and that was a brilliant way to just try and rebuild that momentum, try and get everything back on track, and to really just cement himself as a driver looking to try and even take his first win of the season. Everybody else in this championship battle, except from Lighty, has got a race win, but Campbell Adams hasn't. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does now. He's got pole position for the first time this season, and he's going to really want to try and take this with both hands and try to take this opportunity and turn it into a race victory at long last.
Yeah, and don't forget, Campbell Adams came into the season as a reserve driver, did manage to get close within the championship fight earlier on. That granted him a full-time seat with Williams, and now he is right up there on level points with Exafox, sharing the lead of the championship. But the trend that we have seen so far, the man that takes over the championship lead then goes on to have one or two of slumber races where they don't perform as well, will need to regain their form in order to get back towards the top of the table, and once they do, they have that off race again and then they drop down. So it's really a lot of back and forth going that we see. Let's hope for Exafox that he won't be suffering the same fate, but for Campbell Adams, he could do a great work here if he manages to also get the race win, because with a couple of drivers perhaps performing a bit less, Bogdan Moldovan of course has to come from the back of the grid, that could already narrow down the amount of championship competitors that we have. Remember, we have 8 at the moment, separated by a maximum of 15 points with 4 races to go. After tonight, they'll be with 3 races to go, with Japan, was it Vegas or is it Miami?
It's Vegas.
It's Vegas.
Japan, Vegas, and then Bahrain to end off the season in January.
So we're now roundabout entering that point in the season where we're going to narrow down the amount of drivers. Maybe tonight that won't happen just yet, or maybe one is going to fall off. They just need to make sure that they finish high enough. But with 8 drivers in the mix, it's very easy to not score more than your opponents and drop down the order. For Campbell Adams, the thing he needs to do, just put it on the podium, preferably on the top step, and then he's going to do some really good business for his championship bid.
Yeah, he certainly will. It's going to be an interesting race, to say the least. It can go anybody's way still. It's nice to see Exafox back up with a good qualifying result as well. Not been too strong in the past, I would say, 3 qualifyings so far in the past 3 races of the season at Monaco, Silverstone and the Netherlands. So it's nice to see him back up in that top 6 for qualifying, and he'll be looking to try and get another strong result to back up that 2nd place from last week. But still, to think that half of this grid that we have here this evening are in this championship battle just makes it that much more exciting. But unfortunately, if you're for the likes of Bogdan Moldovan, Gottschalk, who didn't get the best qualifying this evening, this is a real big mountain to climb, and they've got to really work well within this race. They've got to work with others, even if they are championship rivals. They've got to work with him for the most part, all the way until that final lap. Try get up the order as much as they can, and they've really got to try and make pay on maybe even an alternate strategy and hope for an early safety car. So it's going to be interesting to see tonight, because of course we have championship contenders all throughout the field. We'll see exactly what they do and how aggressive they want to run this one. Of course, the pressure isn't on the top 3 drivers' shoulders. It is mainly going to be on the drivers from Bogdan Moldovan in 4th all the way to Kai in 8th. They're the drivers on the risk of elimination here this evening.
Yeah, and the good news for Kai is that he's right up there with a great qualifying result, so he likely will stay out of the melee at the start of the race. We're getting the heads up in the meantime to start up. We just saw that Paulo Afonso just mentioned that he got back home after being stuck in Christmas traffic. Not sure if he's still going to be participating in the race or if he'll have to let this one go. He's not within the championship fight, so thankfully for that, it doesn't cause any issues. We will be driving, as we mentioned before, the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit, 25 laps that we're going to see. The two things that we didn't mention just yet when we were talking about the track is the amount of DRS zones. We have 3 DRS zones. One DRS zone is the exit of turn 17. That's your right left-hander, and the zone ends at turn 19, which is the left right-hander. Then you have on the exit of turn 22, that is on the left-hander towards the back of the track. That's where the detection point is, zone slightly thereafter, and it ends at turn 25, as that is. And then we have another detection at turn 27 with the zone after turn 27, and that is your start-finish straight, and that's where we're going to see a lot of chicken DRS, where drivers will refuse to overtake despite the straight being so long, because driving here on front usually is not the thing that you want, and I think you basically want to be second in that second DRS zone, go for the overtake in the final corner, and then try to keep it ahead of everyone else. Your pit lane time loss 23 seconds, and Max, I quickly want to take you back to a race that we had here at PSGL 3 years ago, which was PCF1, because we had the unique opportunity of rain back then.
Yes, we did. That was a very interesting race. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we've got any just yet, should I say, in this lobby. It is dry once we have loaded into the pit lane, but what a way that would have mixed things up if we got a little bit of rain in a place where it does not get much rainfall per year. I think it's only about 50 millimeters, of rain per year. So
we already had that today in half an hour.
Yeah, so it just shows how little it does rain per year in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be very interesting indeed to see how this race will now progress. As you said, Myth, don't really want to be leading on to that final lap, if at all, because you burn so much battery around this circuit, because it is the fastest street circuit on the calendar. So it's all going to be about where you place yourself throughout this field, and we're about to go to the green flag running, so Myth, take us away.
We have 5 red lights on, and we're on our way with a great start in the outside line for Campbell Adams. Isaac Leeds seems to be off much better, and we have 3 men wide. Down the inside goes Alexander Dimas, and he has a whopping start there. Is already up into P2. Alessandro Finn now is trying to battle with Isaac Lead and Kai as well, who've lost a bit. Till Bones has left the session. He seems to be having a bit of issues, and Alessandro Finn has also dispatched Isaac Lead, who's dropping down the order now. Remember, he started P3, he's now down to P6, with Dennis Langrock closely behind him. Exafox also losing some positions in that opening lap. He is down to 9th place. And Gottschalk is up in 13th. Bogdan Moldovin still creates the same, and it looks like his teammate Lolovera went for a little bit of dive bomb onto Lanzoni, and he managed to make that stick. Up ahead though, Lighty is having a great fight with Alessandro Finn. He's gone past before the right left-hander, and he is now up into P4, so overtakes all over the field. But for Campbell Adams, he keeps it nice and tight up front. But Dimas, great start for him.
Yeah, brilliant start there from Dimas to come from 4th all the way up to 2nd. Many split strategies throughout the field. We have quite a few on the mediums, and then a few on the hards, and Lolo Vieira on the softs. So your medium runners, as Dennis Lamrock's now going for a move on Alessandro Finn. He's also had a brilliant start to this Grand Prix. And there's Isaac Lee versus Exeter Fox into turn 27 as well. But that gives the Aston Martin a poor run out of the corner, and this allows Gabriel Pinto to now attack the Aston Martin as we head down into turns 1 and 2. There's nearly 3 wide up in front. There is 3 wide between Finn, I think that's Lucas Baisner, and also Dennis. Dennis Langrock. Basner comes out on top in all of that with all the contact that was made into that first corner. Exafox dropping not only behind Pinto, but Lolo Vieira as well. Basner dropping behind Dennis Langrock. It's been a brilliant start from the two Alpines, who have both gained 3 places respectively from the start of this race. Tail Balls is back in the session. Isaac Leak now under pressure from Gabriel Pinto, as well as we head into turn 12. The Hash driver now to the inside of the McLaren. Is he going to be able to make that one stick? He surely will on corner exit on those medium tyres. It's been disaster for everybody else on the hards, except Kai, who's still in 3rd place. And the top 4, thanks to all that squabbling, have broken away from the rest of the field. And that DRS train is now going to start forming behind Dennis Langrock, and it's going to be oh so difficult to get back within Lighty's 1 second margin.
Yeah, we're quickly going to take a look at the tires. We have one driver on the softs, that's Lolo Vera, as we see that we have a bit of a moment there. I think that was for Gottschalk. And he has lost a front wing end plate as a result. Just a brief yellow flag. As you see his teammate Lucas Beisner just getting past Dennis Langrock. He's now up into P5. Of course, DRS now going to come into play. But Lolo Vera is the only soft runner here. Then we have 6 drivers on the hards. That is Kai, Alessandro, Finn, Isaac Leet, Giovanni Lanzoni, Exafox, and Theo Bulns. And all the other drivers are on the mediums, of which Alexander Dibas has just taken over the race lead from Campbell Adams after getting that DRS overtake. Gottschalk now, of course, into pit lane because he has to change that front wing. He is pretty much out of contention because of that. Theo Bones also 15 seconds behind the rest of the grid because of that early disconnect. And yeah, you see how much time you do lose because of that AI. And now if we go further up ahead, Alessandro Finn is now dropping down the order. He's dropped down back to 10th, 11th even, as Bogdan Moldovan has even gone through. So he, despite having a great start early on, he's now dropping down the order. Isaac Lee slowly starting to recover, but he is still in P8, and I think he needs to wait a few more laps before he can really start to attack the medium runners up ahead.
Yeah, those mediums seeming to be in great shape so far at the start of this Grand Prix. And now Bogdan Moldovan could be lining up a move on Isaac Lee. I want to know what's happened to Exafox in all of this. After a good qualifying in 6th place, in the first three laps of this Grand Prix, he's dropped all the way down to 13th place. It's been an absolute disaster for your championship leader in this race. Well, he's the man joined on points with him heading into this one. Is up leading the Grand Prix. He's just swapped places with Alexander Dimas. Lighty has just swapped places with Kai, who's in a really good position on those hard compounded tyres. If there is no safety car in this Grand Prix, Dimas gets back in front of Campbell Adams. Basner able to get past Dennis Langrock as Moldovan to the outside of Isaac Leak, getting the move done into 8th place. Below Giddy are I want to be on at this stage of the Grand Prix. The hards will eventually come back into play within the next few laps or so. Tail Bones picks up a 10-second time penalty. Unfortunately, due to that earlier disconnect, he will be our first retirement of the Grand Prix. Only 4 laps before our first retirement, which is very disappointing, as Lolo Vieira picks up a 3-second time penalty. He has a bit of damage after some contact with his teammate Exafox earlier on, and he is now going to be nursing a 3-second time penalty as well. But the hard runners having an absolute mare of a time so far here, Myth. The medium tyre runners absolutely loving life so far under the lights here in Jeddah.
Yeah, I think so far, if we make up the balance after the first 4 laps, I think it's safe to say that choosing the mediums was the better option. The only driver on the hards really be able to hold on is Kai, who has dropped only 2 places as a result. But he is within the DRS train, so he has nothing to worry about, at least for now. All the other drivers have dropped down significantly down the order, with the medium drivers getting past them. Also a 2-second gap between Kai and Beisner already, so that separates the top 4 quite a bit from the rest. And for Lolo Vera, those softs really have not come to fruition yet, but it's going to be much, much harder for him because he has that front wing end plate damage, and he's now going to get passed by Lanzoni unless Lanzoni decides to stay behind. But he's going to make a late move down the inside. Lanzoni is through, and there's contact with his teammate Exafox, who I'm not sure what he was thinking there, but there was nowhere Lolo Vera could have gone, and he just drove into the back of him.
Yeah, Exafox with another piece of contact with his teammate. Of course, that's what gave Vieira the front wing damage before, was a move into turn 22 by Exafox. And unfortunately, Vieira picked up a bit of front wing damage from it. So as Exafox now gets closer to the back of his teammate heading into turn 12, not able to get the move done, but this is huge for the championship implications. If Exafox does not score, everybody still remains within championship contention, you would think, in this one, unless Campbell Adams does end up getting that race victory out in front. At the moment, Dimas putting some good points on the board for his championship challenge and will be within at least 1 or 2 points of Campbell Adams if he is able to win this one. There were some moves further back. Pinto moving up to 6th place. Vieira with another 3-second time penalty. He's up to 6 seconds now as Exafox able to get by Giovanni Lanzoni with the DRS. Is anyone going to go for a move within this mid-pack for the front of the queue? No, they are not. This train from Pinto all the way down to Isaac Leet in 9th place. Lanzoni dropping behind Lolo Vieira. They're going to go side by side into turn 1. There's 3 wide actually into turn 1. Finn being able to get past a pair of them with that superior battery, and he's now going to the inside of Exafox as well. 3 cars down 1 straight if he's able to pull this one off, but Exafox will defend through turn 2. The Scarlet Red Ferrari, though, under the lights, looking for a superb move into turn 4. He's gone for it. He's forced Exafox off the road. Surely the Aston Martin going to stick in front now. Yes, he does. For Alessandro Finn, weren't able to pick off 3 cars within 1 move. He taps the inside wall as well at turn 9 to boot, and that now gives Lanzoni a brilliant run out to turn 10, and he's back in front surely into turn 12. Yes, he is, just cuts in front of the Ferrari. Real scrapping between the last points paying position. They're now 3.1 seconds behind the rest of the field, and up in front it does seem to be very calm and controlled from these top 4 runners so far.
Yeah, it looks like the gap towards the man in 5th, Dennis Langrog, is starting to increase as well by about 3 to 4 tenths every lap as Lanzoni has gone past Exafox again. Exafox now down in 11th outside the points. Isaac Lead is in 9th. The other championship competitors, Bogdan Moldovan in 8th, Gottschalk in P14. But then further up the order, it's looking a lot better because your entire top 4 is made out of championship protagonists, of which Campbell Adams is already leading the standings, equal on points with Exafox, and is now currently leading the race, although be leapfrogging quite a bit with Dimas, who I think is going to make a move down the inside of turn 1. Indeed gets past Campbell Adams once more, as here Langrog is trying to hold off all the other drivers, and it looks like Bogdan Moldovan has just made a move onto Beisner because he wants to get further up the grid after not being able to participate in qualifying. He started all the way at the back of the grid in P15, but he's now up in P7 on those mediums, and he's right up in there for contention for some good points, although that gap towards Kai is the only thing that will be really bothering him, but perhaps later on with the pit stops he might be able to cut down that gap and put himself back within a fight for podium places.
He certainly can. Of course, the safety car could shake everything up, and that will really bring the racing a lot closer, of course. As Dimas still leads the way with Campbell Adams, these two will still do routine switches. Lighty and Kai will not want to get into their way either unless they sense a real opportunity for an overtake. They're just going to stay level pegging up in front. Gabriel Pinto now getting all over the back of Dennis Lanrock, as we exit out of turn 24. There'll be DRS open for the Haas driver. He's going to look to this inside line. Will Bogdan Moldovan try to follow him through? Yes, he will. Doesn't allow Dennis Lanrock to shut that door. He's going to then hold it on the inside line. Lanrock on the outside will get the better run out of the corner as he'll have the straighter exit. So DRS open now as we head down this main straight. Campbell Adams back past Alexander Dimas. Moldovan gets past 1. He's going to look to get by 2 as we have 3 wide behind. Isaac Leet down to the inside of Lanrock and Beisner around the outside of a 3 wide man again. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? This will be beautiful from Beisner to do 2 3 wide overtakes round the outside into turn 1. He's forced wide through turns 4 and 5. He's able to get the position though on the McLaren. Dennis Lanrock falls to the back of the queue, but Lucas Beisner once again, he did it within the opening few laps. A few laps later, he then picks it up again around the outside into turn 1 with 2 cars alongside him on the inside.
Yeah, what I'm now also very curious to see what can Bogdan Moldovan do. He was 8th at the start of the previous lap. Now he's up into P5 with some great overtakes that he's managed to do. But does he have the superior pace to try and cut down that gap onto Kai, or is that gap more or less going to stay the same or increase even a little bit more? We will have a bit of DRS here. That will be enough for Gabriel Pinto to come through once more, but looks like Beisner has fallen outside the DRS window of these two, and that could potentially be terrible news for Beisner, Lead and Langrock, but looks like they're slowly crawling back into it. Although it is very, very close, and it looks like they indeed just got back into it. Good call from you, Max. But they still need to keep up the pace to stay within, but it's now down to 7:10, so I think they'll be safe. Bogdan Moldovan, in the meantime, we have an early pit stop. We have Campbell Adams coming in at the start of lap 9. That is going to make a call for Beisner and Langrock 2, that they're going to have their early pit stop. They switch now to the hards. A very early pit stop from Campbell Adams. I'm not sure if this is the right moment, but I think most of the drivers will come in, at least the medium runners, in about 1 or 2 laps. For Kai, this just means continue on with the pace, and hopefully you can make a pit stop together with some of the hard runners. But then again, Isaac Lead is about 4 seconds away from Kai, so I think for Kai, he'll have to do it all on his own when he's going to switch for mediums.
Yeah, he will have to. Of course, those medium tyres will be feeling like they have just got no grip left in them. They'll be hitting that cliff at this moment in time, and that is why we are starting to see Kai close back up to the rear wing of the Alpine in front of Lighty. So DRS open. So we head through into 22 and 23. Will the top two come into the pit lane and react to the undercut attempt here from Campbell Adams? Will Campbell Adams be able to gain a second over the two behind as well? That will give him a brilliant buffer heading into that first sector. As we now head into the final corner, the Alpine getting so close to the Red Bull man under braking. Are we going to see them both dive into the pit lane? It is looking likely, and yes it is. Lighty and Dimas into the pit lane. Kai left out alone now. And this is now where we see Campbell Adams. Where does he come out in relation to the top two that were in, of this Grand Prix, of Lighty and of Alexander Dimas? They switch onto the hard compounded tyre. Campbell Adams heading down that main straight now. He's heading into turn 1. Whereas Lighty and Dimas now putting the foot to the floor. They'll cut off that first corner, of course, will be on the wider line for turn 2. And Campbell Adams does get ahead. No, he doesn't. Dimas, with that wider line, able to get the momentum through the corner. And that undercut attempt has not worked for Campbell Adams. He tried to break that DRS, boxing that lap earlier. And unfortunately, it's not worked. And he's dropped the position to Alexander Dimas as well to boot. So for the Williams man, he drops to net second place. Of course, we've still got a hard runners to come into the pit lane. They'll probably come in around about lap 13, lap 14 to swap onto the medium compounder tyres. But for Campbell Adams, that undercut attempt did not work in his favour at all.
Yeah, and that shows that the hards are not that much quicker than those older hards and mediums that they were previously driving on. And that, once again, is great news for Kai and Isaac Lead up ahead, because they're going to have a more severe advantage at the start of their second stint, because they'll be able to stay out just a little bit more. I think around lap 15, they'll probably try and gamble it. Slanzoni and Exafox are still fighting for what is now P3, but of course not net P3 in the race. Kai has a 5-second lead over Isaac Lead. Is starting to increase that ever so slightly, despite not having any DRS to his disposal. The same goes for Lead. Exafox and Lanzoni, of course, will have the use of that, but they don't seem to get too much closer to Lead either. Campbell Adams and Alexander Dimas are having a little bit of a scruff, and it looks like Campbell Adams has just gone ahead, with Beisner setting the fastest lap time at a 29.9. Remember, that's also good enough for 1 point. And a place that he is at now, 10th, is just enough to pick up that extra point. So I think the medium runners later on will be able to go for that, and that could be particularly important for Exafox, Lead, or Kai, as they're still within that championship fight. But now Campbell Adams will need to make sure he keeps those drivers behind him at bay. It looks like the gap to Bogdan Moldovan at least stays solid. So I think that Moldovan, Beisner, Langrock, and Pinto won't be able to go for the overtake on them at all anymore. As for the other drivers, I think Kai will surely be added to the mix still, but we'll have a 4-way fight for the race win potentially later on, Max.
Yes, we certainly will. Of course, the three drivers on those fresh hards, Adams, Dimas and Lighty, will all be able to use that DRS to just help them get closer to Kai and just stretch their legs, which by the time Kai comes into the pit lane and just shake him out of that DRS range. But of course, those fresh mediums will be absolutely lightning quick in that first few laps of their life, as Dimas able to get past Campbell Adams with that DRS. There was a little bit of lag on his end, just jittering back and forth. That might have given Campbell Adams a little bit of a shock, because here comes Lighty past Adams, now passing Dimas down that main straight. He takes that net race lead away, and he finally shoots himself to the front of that order. So for Lighty, he's got to try and hold on for as much as he can at the front of this field. Let's see the gap to the lead. It's 15 seconds, and Lolo Vieira, oh, that was a crash on circuit. Vieira comes into the pit lane to retire. I have seen a glitch around Saudi Arabia before where someone retiring in the pit lane did bring out a safety car, but I don't think we'll see that here this evening. But I thought that was a crash on the circuit. That certainly would have got Kai's hopes up seeing a yellow flag in that final sector. And unfortunately, that smile might have just faded slightly because it was only a retirement in the pit lane.
Yeah, that got me on my toes as well. I thought we were going to see an incident. The race was going to be shaken up in advantage of the hard runners, but also for the drivers at the back, especially Gottschalk, who's within that championship fight, but currently in P13, not looking like he's going to get any points unless there is a safety car later down the line. As for the other drivers, Bogdan Moldovan's gap, that's still stuck at 4.5, now 4.6, losing a little bit in the middle sector. Lighty, in turn, is gaining quite a bit onto Alessandro Finn, starting to get within DRS range of them. That gap a lap and a half ago was about 3 seconds, so they're now significantly quicker, and Kai has decided to come into the pit lane for those mediums, a fairly early pit stop, but he thinks he can make it stick on the mediums. Gottschalk, another 3-second time penalty for track limits, but I think what Kai wants to do here is stay within DRS window of all the other drivers without getting just in front of Moldovan. He will be about 1.5 seconds behind. I think it is indeed 1.5 seconds. He will be able to clear that quite early on here and will just join the back of that queue. So I think good timing for Kai based on gaps that they have on track, but I really do wonder how well those mediums will be at the end of the race.
Yeah, are they going to be chewed up too quickly here by Kai? So he's now going to pass Alessandro Finn, who got away out of the way for that net top 3 quite nicely, but did hold them up ever so slightly. And Kai now within DRS range of Campbell Adams, Lighty and Alexander Dimas. The question is, how will those medium tyres look at the end of this Grand Prix? They will not be very healthy. They will not be a pleasant sight, but will he be able to hold on if he's able to break away from that DRS train that will form right behind him? So he's now within that DRS. He can save some battery behind Campbell Adams for now. He'll have that superior grip over these next 5 or so laps, you would think, at this stage of the Grand Prix. It'll be DRS open now for Kai. Will Leet, Exafox and Lanzoni follow his last lap and come into the pit lane as well, as Dimas overtaken by Lighty. Leet is into the pit lane. He's the only driver that comes into the pit. Only now over Fox. I wouldn't be surprised if these two decide to try and stay out for as long as possible and hope for a safety car. But let's head back to those drivers fighting it out for that net race lead. Lighty still leading the way, but the Papaya McLaren is getting ever bigger within Campbell Adams' rearview mirrors. And it's going to be a matter of time before Kai hits the front of this queue.
It's going to be a matter of time indeed, and we see that because of all the squabbling that Isaac Lead is now 3 seconds behind of the other queue that has stopped early on their hearts. They were quite close to one another. Then there is a gap towards Alessandro Finn, that's 2.7 seconds, and then comes Bogdan Moldovan. But looks like Bogdan Moldovan has managed to close down the gap to Kai up front by about 1 second, so that's good news for him, but we'll need to close it by another 2.5 seconds if he wants to get within DRS range of them. I don't think that will be done all too easily. In the meantime, though, the pace behind Lighty is starting to become higher and higher as Alexander Dimas is really on his tail now, but he's deciding to stay behind for now. Not sure if he's going to go for the overtake here at the second DRS zone. He is close enough to do so, and I think he might have to go for the overtake with Campbell Adams so close. He will indeed move it on to the inside, but we'll need to make sure that he stays close within that next DRS range. It's 3 men wide. Kai dives it down the inside. He gets past Campbell Adams, but he is now poised to try and overtake Lighty. And then Dimas as a result. Let's quickly go to him. Down the inside, it is Lighty who goes there. Around the outside comes Kai, wants to take two, and he makes it stick. Around the outside, a two-man overtake for Kai, and he is now in the race lead with Lanzoni, Exafox, and Finn, who got into the pit lane. Kai now leads the race, but that was a monster of an overtake.
That was a beautiful overtake from Kai, like we saw Basner do at the start of this Grand Prix. But he's just not able to break away. That slipstream just so powerful on this game that he's just not able to break through that first sector where you'd think those medium tyres are going to play their part. And unfortunately, that gap's still around about 0.3 of a second, so he could still fall to the back of this train. But if he's able to stick within it, able to just keep with these drivers in front, he can just, save his medium compounder tyres as their hard tyres wear out. But it was a beautiful move to put him to the front of this queue, as Dimas is now all over the back of Lighty behind, of course. Two drivers within this top four haven't won a race this season. Lighty in the Alpine, he got pole last time out in the Netherlands, wasn't able to convert it into a race victory, and then you got Campbell Adams, and he's got pole here in Saudi Arabia. Will he suffer the same fate, though, as Lighty did last time around? Basner able to get past Bogdan Moldovan as he reaches up into 5th place as Pinto to the inside of Dennis Langrock, but looking back at the front of the field, here comes Lighty then. On Kai, will Dimas follow him through? It is looking likely that he will. He's to the inside of the Papaya McLaren. Lighty is now your new race leader. The Red Bull round the outside of Kai. Brilliantly done from Dimas if he's able to pull this one off. Yes, he is. Kai backs out, knows it's not worth the squabble, and he moves up to 2nd place. Does Alexander Dimas. Brilliantly done. And what a way to shuffle Kai back down to 3rd place. I think this really is going to be a high-speed game of chess. It's going to be, you have to go at certain points. It's going to be a peloton with this one. And it's all going to be about when you go for that hard charge to the front of the field and if you're able to maintain it.
Yeah, in the meantime, the fight for P6 is also heating up. We saw Pinto just momentarily step out of the track. That allowed Beisner to get by him, and Langrock is close with him too, and it looks like Isaac Lead, Exafox, and Lanzoni. At least Isaac Lead has found the back of that queue, and I think Exafox and Lanzoni will do so in a moment as well, as we have the overtake now from Pinto onto Beisner, but he'll be having to look in his rearview mirrors in this 2nd DRS zone. But look at that, here comes a charging Isaac Lead. Remember, he's within that championship fight. He got that race win last week out in Zandvoort, but a P9 will not be enough from him. He needs to gain more and more places, but I think at this point, P5 might be the max that he can do, unless there is a safety car in those final 9 laps. But he's now alongside a Langrock. He will try to close the gap to drivers up, and look how much overspeed he has, and he's going to get 2 more, diving into turn 1, and lead is up into P6. That is some insane overspeed into turn 1. We have a yellow flag, and that is for Pinto. Pinto who spun.
Yeah, Pinto. Langrock went just really late on the brakes into the side of Pinto. He went for a half spin, and Pinto unfortunately went for the full 180, and unfortunately for the Haas driver, drops out of that DRS train, and that just all kicked off from Isaac Leit's overspeed, and then Dennis Langrock unfortunately just getting a little bit too hot on the brakes, and that sent him into the side of the Haas man. And that was another yellow flag that would have played into the hands of the likes of Gottschalk, Exafox as well, if they were able to get that safety car that they so desperately need. So for Kai, as he's all over the back of Lighty, heading into turns 22 and 23. Of course, on lap 17 of 25 now, we still have 9 laps to go in this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. There's still a long way to go in this one. As you can see, Kai getting closer and closer. He's not going to go for it. His Lighty's to the outside of Alexander Dimas. He's going to try to get the good run out of the final corner. Who's got the DRS, though? Is it the Alpine or is it the Red Bull? It's neither. Neither of them got the DRS. They were level at the line. Here comes Kai. Here comes Campbell Adams, snatching his opportunity away from that top 2. Kai goes deep into turns 1 and 2. While all this happens, Campbell Adams still going to try and get the drive out of the corner. But with Lighty and Dimas making a critical error with not neither of them getting the DRS. It's dropped them both to the back of this queue, and Campbell Adams says, thank you very much. I'll go from 4th all the way to 2nd.
I actually didn't know that was a thing. But to be honest, I've never seen two drivers get to the DRS detection point at the exact same moment, down to the wire, 0.000, and I did not know that that results in no DRS for either driver, so that's a very peculiar moment for Lighty and Dimas, and that costs them a few places for now, but of course they're still within the DRS train that Kai now leads, has about 4.5 tenths on the other drivers. He's starting to gain less now in the quick combinations. He, before in this left-right-hander, gained about 1.5 tenths, and that is now going to be, it's still 1.5 tenths, it's actually not that bad, but he needs to make sure that he keeps that. But before that, the gap has already closed down a little bit more, and of course, the longer the race progresses, the tinier that advantage is going to become. And it looks like Isaac Lead, in the meantime, has already gone past Bogdan Moldovan. So he was behind a 1.5 seconds previous lap. Now he's gone past Bogdan. Can he now make a charge to the drivers up ahead? The gap is 3.3 seconds, but if he has some overspeed, he might be able to get closer to the drivers up ahead, especially if they're going to make some mistakes. So we'll need to keep an eye out for Isaac Lead. The gap now 3.2, needs to shave off 2.3 to get within 1 second, but if he can do so before the end of the race, Isaac Lead might be in the fight for potential race win here, although at the moment that doesn't seem too likely.
No, it does not, but it's now just a race against the clock for Isaac Lead. Got only a handful of laps to go, and he needs to find that time oh so desperately. I think he gave a little weave and a little bit of communication there with Bogdan Moldovan. They both weaved down that straight saying, let's work together for this one. There is still an opportunity to catch that top 4, and if they squabble, they will certainly be within play. So it's now down to 3 seconds between the top 4 and Isaac Lead. Bogdan Moldovan, of course, will get that swap around with the McLaren, so those two will be trying to work together quite nicely, and I would assume that Basner and Langrock will also be in cooperation to try and catch up to the front of the train. So Kai now looking for the move on Campbell Adams. Is he going to go for it? He's going to look for a little lunge into turn 27, not able to get it done. So we exit out of the final corner. He'll be able to get the move done once again down this main straight, and will move himself back to that race lead unless Lighty uses a bit of battery to try and follow him through, which he does, but he's going to have to go side by side here with Campbell Adams, and no, just backs out of it. Knows the time loss will be too great if he does squabble over that position. Exafox able to, actually was able to get past Lanzoni, but the Williams driver fighting back into turn 1. Exafox did pick up the fastest lap there, so it'll be 2 points scored in this Grand Prix so far. And that gap now between Dimas and Isaac Lee, 2.8 seconds. So, Lee has taken out about half a second over the previous lap. That is certainly the time he needs if he wants to catch up to that top 4.
Yeah, but it's going to be very tough to cut down more time of it because it's sort of hovering around 2.8, 2.9, and we'll need to get that down to 2.4 if there's any realistic hope of him getting within the DRS window in the final few laps and then getting in there with the fight. In the meantime, Beisner has fallen out of reach with Bogdan Moldovan, and behind them, Lanzoni and Exafox are starting to get closer to Langrock as well, who, mind you, has a penalty to his name, and that at the moment is great news for Gabriel Pinto because he's in 11th, but with that penalty right around the 3-second mark, if he can get a little closer to Langrock, he will be able to snatch away that 10th place, although Langrock in turn has just gone past Lucas Beisner, and he's now up into 7th, at least on the grid momentarily. But how close are Lanzoni and Exafox now to the back of this? It was 1.6, it's now up to 1.9. They need to work to get a little bit more so they can get to the back of this grid and then potentially fight for a P6 later on down the race. And mind you, especially Exafox is going to need these points in the championship fight. He is level first with Campbell Adams, but at the moment Campbell Adams in 2nd place, and he himself only good for 9th. 8th, of course, after that penalty for Langrock. But that is not enough. That's not what he's hoping for. Needs to gain a lot of time here in the first sector. And by the looks of it, I think in 1 or 2 laps, he will be right at the back of Beisner and Langrock alike. But might even be this lap as he's just gotten it at the 1 second mark now.
Yeah, Fox teetering on the edge of getting within that DRS range of Langrock and Basner, who have dropped off the back of Moldovan and Isaac Lee. Weren't able to keep up the pace, and a big slide there from Lucas Basner, which nearly saw him spearing off, into the wall. So Basner now under pressure from Fox, so there could still be a decent points haul. Not as much as he would have hoped, but still a very good points haul from Fox in this Grand Prix. So he's looking at 7th place at the moment as Bogdan Moldovan and Isaac Lee swap places, and Lighty and Campbell Adams are squabbling through the final corner. Campbell Adams squeezed into the wall there ever so slightly. No damage picked up, but that's allowed Dimas to not only get past Campbell Adams, but maybe even Lighty as well. He's got the overspeed to do so if he's late enough on the brakes, but no, does not go for the move. Don't want to risk getting any damage at this stage of the race, but this is allowing Kai to just streak further and further clear in this Grand Prix. Isaac Lee's charge has really halted. Yes, he does. He really needs to push through this first sector, does Kai, if he wants to try and break this DRS range. I thought we saw a big snap of oversteer there for the McLaren through turn 9. It's still around about 0.6 of a second as Dimas is getting closer to Lighty. Won't go for the move. They don't want to lose that crucial time to the McLaren in front of them. It will switch up to 0.7 of a second, I think, before we reach turns 15 and 16. But unfortunately for Kai, wasn't able to break the DRS, weren't able to push really hard enough on those medium compounder tyres, or maybe knows even though he'll break it, they'll just get straight back within it with the DRS that they have. So might as well just make it as big as possible and save that battery for later on. Fox able to get past Dennis Langrock and maybe Lucas Basner as well as we head into turn 22. That's a risky move from Fox. It's a lovely move if he's able to pull this one off. Here comes Lanzoni as well to try and get past the pair of them as he now has that DRS range. He's going to go side by side with Basner. He's past Basner. Here comes Langrock. It's 3 wide into turn 27. Here we go. Who's going to come out on top? Basner still on the inside of Lanzoni. He unfortunately has a slide which drops him behind, and that allows Lanzoni to just streak clear. But here comes Langrock again with that overspeed, with the DRS, with the battery. Fox comes over to cover. Basner now to the inside of Langrock. Lanzoni to the inside of Fox. They're 2 by 2 heading into turns 1 and 2, and Fox able to come out on top. Basner drops to the back of this train, and Lanzoni has to sit behind the Aston Martin for now, and it's still a strong 7th place for Fox after being so far off the back of this field. And he will try and hunt down Bogdan Moldovan, but with 3 laps to go, it'll be a very tricky task.
Yeah, and all that time they just lost fighting with Beisner and Langrock has cost them about 2 seconds on Moldovan and Lee to head. So that gap now 3.6 seconds. They won't be able to close it in, so Fox will need to look behind and make sure he keeps Lanzoni, Langrock and Beisner, and in a moment maybe even Gabriel Pinto behind them. Then we have a fight for P5 with Lead and Moldovan, and then of course a fight for the race win. 4 drivers, all championship competitors in the names of Kai, Lighty, Dimas and Campbell Adams, of which Lighty and Campbell Adams, both drivers out of the top 8 in the standings, that have not gotten a race win just yet. So tonight they might break that drought and move themselves in with the other drivers that have gone 1, and Bogdan Moldovan then 2, but he won't be up in for contention for a 3rd race win. So now 2 laps still to go. Kai still leads, but his mediums are starting to wear down, and for Lighty, he knows being in P2 for now is in the right position to pounce in the next lap and go for that overtake in the second DRS zone and then hold it with enough ERS down to the line. That should be the strategy, but we'll see if the drivers want to play that anything different. Further on, it looks like Fox has kept Lanzoni behind at least for the time being, but the fights are now going to ramp up, and it looks like Dimas is getting really close to the back of Lighty for P2.
Yes, he really is, and if Dimas or Campbell Adams win this Grand Prix, they are going to take that championship lead with them. So Dimas with a nice run out of turn 16, all over the back of the Alpine. He'll want to get up to 2nd place. He knows that's the hot spot. He knows that's exactly where he wants to be heading on to the final lap of this race. Doesn't go for it yet, though. Just look at the commitment he's showing. Kai, with the worst battery, of course, he's the one not being able to save it in that DRS, and he's going to hope that the drivers get by him now. So as they get closer and closer into this final corner, is anyone going to go for the move? On the penultimate lap, there's contact between Lighty and Kai. That slides them both wide. Here comes Dimas. He's going to go for the overtake with that DRS. Campbell Adams has done a poor run out of that final corner as well. He's dropped nearly half a second back to that top 3. But here we are then. A last lap under the lights. It is a mad dash to the line. Who will come out on top? Will it be Kai? Will it be Dimas for their second race wins of the season? Or will it be Lighty or Campbell Adams? The two drivers still searching who are in championship contention for their first race wins of the season. Kai leads the way on those worn medium compounded tyres. He went for that early pit stop. He went for the gamble. Has it paid off into his favour? So, heading into turn 12, the McLaren drivers still just leading the way for now. It's all going to be about Lighty's run out of turn 22 and 3. You can't count out Dimas either. We could see 3 wide into that final corner. So, as Kai just tries to streak clear, but it gets a little bit wide through turn 16. This is really putting him under an abundance of pressure from the Alpine behind. Is Lighty going to go for the move now? Is it really worth it? No, he's backing off. Here comes Campbell Adams to the inside of Dimas. Backs out of it. It's all about this run now. Out of turn 23. Through 24 we go. It'll be DRS open for Lighty, for Dimas, for Adams as we head down into the final corner. The Alpine looking to the outside. It's Dimas trying to go thread the needle. He's not so far. Kai and Lighty make contact. Kai spins. Dimas with a slide. Here comes Campbell Adams on the Red Bull. But surely it's going to be the Alpine who wins out here. Lighty gets his first race win of the season under the lights. What a way to do it. But there's a little bit of controversy with it as Kai does unfortunately spin with some contact with Lighty. But it's a first race win under the lights for the Alpine. Campbell Adams has no front wing as he crosses the line. And Dimas in second place. Campbell Adams will take the championship lead. Dimas will move into second in the standings. But for Lighty, it is utter delight under the lights. What a way to win your first race of the season and make yourself a real championship contender.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we're still waiting for Daniel Gottschalk to come across the line. Remember, he's the last of the championship competitors. He switched over to the softs. He wants to go for the fastest lap, but we have a broken Ferrari on start-finish straight, and it is fastest lap indeed for Gottschalk. So he does the only thing that he could still do after a poor race from him. Very unfortunate to see all the things that happened to him. Lighty is the first one to come across. But the big question is he going to keep that win after that contact that he had with Kai in the final corner? He wins it out there on track though, so if that stays, that's his first race win of the season, and then it's just Campbell Adams who has not gone the race win yet. Alexander Dimas comes home in second, then it's Campbell Adams, your new championship leader, in third. Kai comes through in fourth, Bogdan Moldovan with a great recovery from 15th up to 5. He does so well, and then Isaac Lead is behind him in 6th, Exafox in 7th, and Max, I just realized, out of our top 8 championship competitors, our top 7 is all championship protagonists. That's insane.
It certainly is. That is an insane feat. So that's 7 of the 8 competitors for this championship all finished within that top 10. Within that top 7. And wow, what a championship fight we could still certainly have. Dimas and Campbell Adams not getting full points is going to be a big blow to their championship, because of course Dimas was in that hot seat in 3rd place but just had nowhere to go. He tried to thread the needle but then saw Kai go a little bit later on the brakes and slide into the side of Lighty. I think that was a complete racing incident on that final lap there between Kai and Lighty. I think Lighty should still be able to hold that one because he did take quite a wide line through that final corner. But what a race it was. We've crowned a new winner here in Saudi Arabia, and we may have just eliminated Daniel Gottschalk from championship contention. Yeah,
Gottschalk, of course, was already 13 points behind. With this race result, that is going to be 22, as he does pick up the fastest lap. So 22, 3 races, not ideal. Definitely on the back foot because of that. Good news, of course, for Campbell Adams. He will be leading the standings. Alexander Dimas is going to cut from 4 points that he had to Campbell Adams down to 3 points. So he's now 3 away from him. Exafox, of course, is going to lose that first place. Will drop to 3rd. Isaac Lead is going to up in the standings a bit. Bogdan Moldovan will be now behind him. But it looks like Lighty is going to surpass both of them if that race win stays for him. And Lighty will cut that gap down from 12 points behind championship leader now to 7 points behind. As were the other drivers, Leeds and Moldovan, that were 9 behind, will be now slightly over 10. So we will have 4 drivers instead of 5 within 10 points of one another. But still, a very, very good fight. I would love to see a replay of that final corner. I'm not sure if Lighty could do much about that or if it was too much of a send by Kai on those worn mediums. So perhaps the Stewards Inquiry will give us more information about that. But we had a pretty solid race all the way through, and pretty much all our championship protagonists delivered, if we're real here, Max.
Yeah, they all delivered under that pressure, and it was really good racing from all of them to just really be in the right places at the right times. And even with that differing strategies, they were still able to capitalize as much as they were possible. So, I'm quickly just gonna double check the stream to see that final lap incident with Kai and Lighty. I'm gonna give my own personal review on stream. So, of course, Kai exiting out of turn 25 without the DRS. Lighty will be on the outside line in all of this. Dimas looking for that move into the final corner. Kai sends it late on the brakes. He locks up into the side of Lighty. So surely, in that case, Lighty will keep that race victory. It was a lock-up by the McLaren, which sent him deep into the corner. And unfortunately for Kai, dropped him down the order. So it was just a bit too aggressive there from a man who was on the verge of elimination from this championship, from the championship battle. A second place would have certainly been enough. It really is. It's been a really good season. And no, we've actually had 2 repeat winners. Isaac Lee, of course, winning in Belgium and in the Netherlands, and then Bogdan Moldovan with Qatar and Silverstone. So still, 7 race winners in 9 rounds. Still a brilliant feat for us to have here, of course, in PCF4. And still all to play for in that championship. It's been a brilliant first half of the season, and it will just be so much to look forward to in the new year. So much anticipation. This is where the drivers that may be coming off a bit of a poor patch, say the likes of Exafox, yes, he got that second in the Netherlands, but only a 7th place here this evening, was not what he wanted, and that second place was just a little bit of luck on his side that fell into his hands, but he'll be looking to improve into those last 3 rounds of the season. So this break may have come at the right time for some, may have come as some others were picking up momentum, so it could just knock them out of their stride. But still, all to play for. Even though Gottschalk is 22 points behind, he's still well within contention if he scores if he has a good run of form over the next 3 races. So we still have 8 title contenders, but it just will slowly keep getting narrower and narrower as this season progresses. But for Japan, Vegas, and Bahrain, it is going to be 3 more absolute classics. And of course, they're all going to be decided surely on the final lap of the race.
Yeah, definitely has to go down to the wire into Bahrain by how we see it. But I think, just to reflect on what you said about Exafox, of course, the 7th place, he won't be happy about that. But realistically, the only drivers that were ahead of him were people that he's in a championship fight with. And it shows that because we have 8 drivers that are realistically fighting for the title, they will swap a lot of places, and it's very difficult to consistently score podiums. Because I'll take you to the standings once more, so you can see how many podiums everyone's gotten. There we go. Here we have our standings. For Exafox, he's gotten 3 podiums out of 9 races. Campbell Adams tonight picks up his 5th, so he does well in that sense. Dimas picks up his 4th podium of the season, but he has gotten a race win. Moldovan still on 2, but those are 2 race wins. Isaac Leeds picks up his... No, Isaac Lee did not pick up a podium tonight, so also stays on those 2 race wins. Lighty's 3rd podium of the season, first place. Gottschalk is still on 2 podiums, and Kai is also still on 2 podiums, where he was poised to take a 3rd. So they're all fairly closely matched in that sense. I think we can say that Campbell Adams stands above with the most podiums, and then Dimas with 4. But they're trading a lot, and if you look at all the blue point scores, a lot of them always finish in the top 10, and realistically, with so many people being so close to one another, the best you can do is just make sure that you consistently finish within the points and occasionally pick up some podiums, because it's very, very hard to get podium streaks running. In fact, the longest podium streak that we've had is only 2. So that shows how competitive this season of F4 really is, Max.
Yeah, it really is very competitive this season. It's all, as you said, it's all going to be about consistency. That will crown the champion, will be how consistent they are over the course of the next 3 races. You have to be up there scoring the big points. And if you're someone like Campbell Adams still searching for that race victory, what a time to get it within the new year. So, yeah, it's all going to be about how consistent you are. You've got to just make sure you keep your nose clean under pressure and really just try and battle your way to the front of the field. But we're still in for a brilliant season ahead. I mean, with Exafox as well, he had those 2 podium finishes, the race win in Canada and the race win in Belgium, and then the 2nd place in Canada taken away from him. So that would have been absolutely crucial for the championship as well. That really could have seen him have that buffer, have a few more extra points in hand over the rest of the field. But with those penalties, he was put on the back foot, and really if it has somewhat derailed his title challenge ever so slightly.
Yeah, and I think the main thing now is how well are you in the 3 remaining races, because they're quite different. Suzuka, not the easiest of tracks, although most people do like it. Then Vegas is a really nice track to drive. Perhaps not as much in the real world, but here in the F1 game, it's always a delight to watch. And Bahrain is just one of those tracks where most drivers will be above average, so I think they're going to be fairly closely matched there. So they will have to pull the difference in rounds 10 and 11, because in round 12, anything can happen, and just the slightest of mistakes can already cost you the championship. But more about that we're going to see, of course, in January. Looks like we're not going to have any interviews later on tonight. So I think for this, Max, that will be it for this evening and also this calendar year of 2024. We're now going to go into the holiday break, the New Year break, before we return to Japan. We've had a great season so far, Max, and I think after the holidays, it's all going to come to a clashing end, and I think this might well be one of the classic seasons here at PSGL. With 8 championship competitors, 3 races to go, I think that's the most we've ever seen.
It really is. It's going to be an absolute classic for the 3 races left in the season. It's been a wonderful season. It's been a wonderful year here at PSGL. And we'll keep an eye on the stewards' inquiries, on what happens in the stewards' room, to update you with what exactly has happened over this festive break when we come back in the new year in Japan. It's going to be an interesting fight all the way to the death. And Bahrain is where it's all going to be settled. Will Campbell Adams win this championship without winning a single Grand Prix? That is a big question as well. That will be on everybody's minds. But into the new year, we'll see these drivers come back fighting, come back swinging. I'll be into that 12th round as soon as you know it. So it's going to be a very, very exciting way to bring in that new year.
It will be a very exciting way to bring it indeed. We will be back in 3 weeks again after the new year. Then it will be Japan before we have a week break, and then the final 2 races in succession. So at the end of January, we will crown a champion in season 38, PSGL PCF4. But for tonight and for this calendar year, this will be it. Max, thank you so much for joining me in the commentary box as always. And let's make sure we bring it to a cracking end next year. For everyone in the chat, I wish you great holidays as well. Merry Christmas and a nice run into the new year of 2025. For me, that'll be a sent-off from Max as well. Have a great one, guys, and we'll see you again in 3 weeks.